running your business. So if you don't mind just giving us a quick little 60, 90 seconds about who you are, where you're from, how do we get referrals out to you, and of course, getting to know you better.
Yeah, so I grew up in upstate New York, and so my parents had moved me to the desert in 2001, and I was there for a long time. And it was just, I can't take the heat. It's just a little bit too much for me. And I knew that I wanted to live in the mountains like I did in New York. So we always looked up in Mountain Center. Of course, I love the outdoors, horses. I want my kids to grow up outside. Continued to looked up here and found something finally. It was contingent, but it all worked out. And we've been living up here, and I pretty much kind of have taken over the mountain area just with a lot of consistency. It kind of started with one listing, taking kind of on a fixer, I guess. And then a lot of the neighbors kind of saw what I did. And then it just, from there, it just became like a huge waterfall. I think it has a lot to do with the passion that I have for the business, how much I love the area, love selling, love helping people, matchmaker, all of that. So 3 kids, homeschool, horses, 2 properties. We also have one down in the desert. I Airbnb. So just very busy in general.
Well, now you mentioned you're from the mountain area. We got people across the nation. So what does that mean? Where exactly are you? What mountain area are you located now?
So the areas that I work is the desert, obviously, like Indian Wells, Palm Springs, La Quinta, Palm Desert, and then I do a lot up in Idlewild, Mountain Center, Garner Valley area are the areas that I really serve.
Okay. So for those of you guys that are outside of the California area, that's basically about an hour and a half outside of LA, to covering as far as 2 hours east of LA and basically all of that mountain region. You're in specifically Idlewild, is I think is with what I have as far as my notes are concerned. Is that the case?
Garner Valley, it's kind of like a hidden pocket between the desert and Idlewild. There's 5 acre parcels here, so a lot of equestrian stuff.
Cool. And then I noticed you do an amazing job with the branding side of things. And a lot of that does have to do with the equestrian community. It's basically ranch. You got horses, So I really love that about you. Is that something that you kind of organically came up with, or is it just, tell me a little bit about the branding that you're moving forward with?
That is a tough one because there is not a lot of equestrian stuff here in Southern California. And I was very afraid to brand myself as an equestrian agent. And I'm probably still on the fence about that. But the more I got into it, I found out there is not a lot of equestrian agents. And I really do have the upper hand for what is in the desert. Um, Fallbrook area, Temecula, like up where I am, is just a lot of agents aren't quite aware of like what it takes to have horses, what the property takes to have horses, septic systems, all of that. So I really have just kind of, pushed towards that. I've kind of learned that I'm probably not for everybody, and that's okay. I've had to accept that.
Jessica, you haven't been licensed for like a long period of time, right?
Yeah, so I'm going in 2009, the very end of 2019.
Okay, so I guess a good amount of time, but it's not like you've been in the business for 20 years or anything like that. Tell me how you went from, you're going on now almost 7 years of being licensed, but you have exponentially grown your business over the last 3, 4 years. What did that transition look like for you, and how did you go from doing, a handful of deals to now the amount of business that you're doing now, which is at a very high volume?
Consistency is like when it feels like it's not working, just keep going and going, and the light is at the end of the tunnel. Instagram has been a huge business thing for me. I post every single day. I have kind of found out what works, and I hear a lot of noise of like, people on Instagram saying like, don't do this or don't do that, but I just continue to do what works for me. And I think that's the same for everybody. If there's something that works for you or you feel like it's working, just keep going and it will pay off. And that's kind of what I've done.
I like that. So can you niche down on that maybe a little bit, get specific for some of the people that watch this, when it comes to getting leads from Instagram, what are you finding has worked for you? Obviously you said you're posting every day, but is there a specific type of content or a specific type of kind of a thing that you're doing intentionally where you know, hey, if I post X amount of times or if I post this certain type of content, I know I'm going to get people reaching out?
So one, I do the videos at all my properties now. So no matter what it is, I do videos at all the properties. And I found a lot storytelling works really well. Educating people like what it's like to live in the mountains, because truly, like you'll get desert people, desert buyers, desert agents that have no idea what it takes to live up here. So I do a lot of educating and a lot of storytelling. And I found that those work really well. I feel like the post and raw stuff right now, raw, just raw, like unedited. The post that's like, hey, this is, the average price on, you just have to be different. It can't just be the basic, like average price in X city. Like people just don't care about that stuff. They want to know like what it's like to live that life. And so I really just try and tell stories of what it's like.
So kind of giving people a peek behind the scenes of what it's like to live in this type of a community, you think is really what causes people to reach out. What does that look like, and how do you focus much on like conversion and sales skills, or are you just kind of winging it when it comes to converting leads that come in? How do you have a system for that, or what does that look like for you as far as follow up and all that?
I mean, I boost my posts and people just reach out to me and they'll be like, hey, I saw you on Instagram. Like I go to these listing appointments and they'll be like, first thing they say, I've been following on Instagram, saw you on Instagram. So like I boost these posts in certain areas. And a lot of people like, oh, she follows, certain people that I know. And I think I've just made a name for myself that way, is just boosting in certain areas all the time. It's kind of funny. Somebody told me a story yesterday. They're buying a house up here because of all my videos and stuff. And they were showing a friend like the house, they're like, hey, look at this. And the friend was like, oh, yeah, I follow this girl up there on Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think just consistency, educating. I started a business directory up here. So giving back to my community. But a lot of it is just like, how can I help? How can I serve? It's not about me or my business. If I could find somebody that right house off market, I am so happy. And it has nothing to do with, I just don't think like money first. I just think of like people, helping them, helping my community, connecting the dots is kind of my frame of mind.
I love
We
it.
have a question on Instagram. Jasmine's asking, can you expand a little bit of what you mean by storytelling?
Okay, so for example, if they look at my page, it's the very first video I have pinned with the horses and my kids. That property is a very big property. It has 5 structures. And I just took it as like, you know what? Like I moved up here to homeschool my kids and be outside with horses. So I'm just going to expand on this in this, listing video. And so if you watch that video, it's just explaining like what my lifestyle is like up here and trying to reiterate that to that buyer of picturing like, hey, this is what it is living in the mountains, like teaching my kids chores, like, feeding the horses, doing all this stuff, the true homeschool life. So I try, and if I have a property where I feel like I need to like story tell a little bit, I try and go on that. I try and keep every video different. If you look at all my videos, they're all different.
So for the most part, it's basically selling the product from a perspective of here I'm product with the whole McDonald's commercial. So the selling the home from a perspective of the lifestyle, what that's going to look like. If you lived here, this is what your life in a sense could look like. And that can basically vary from one property to another property.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's all different. And I think now it's really tough because we all have to stand out. There's so many agents doing these videos and doing the same thing that I'm doing, and just like don't worry about the competition. Just be who you are. Like, do your own thing. I think that's the biggest thing is people really see through fake right now versus like the raw, real. And I think that's important.
I like that you said that don't worry about the competition. If you could go back, I don't know, let's just say even 2 or 3 years ago, and tell yourself, Jessica, hey, don't do too much of this, or the opposite. Hey, I need you to do more of that. What would be some of those things that you would go and tell, the Jessica of 3, 4, years ago?
I am pretty happy with what I feel like I've done. I've kind of, I mean, as far as up here, I think for me, it's a little bit easier maybe versus like the desert, like the busier cities like Temecula. I feel like it's easier for me to stand out because people aren't doing the stuff I'm doing up here. So maybe look around and see what other people are doing and say, hey, how can I be different? Unlike, other people. And for me, it's like there was no social media stuff being done up here. There was no, postcards getting out. There's no off market stuff happening. There's just a lot happening up here, and I think that's how I've been able to stand out, is just doing something different. So I just say, like, pick like what I always am trying to think of, like, what is the next thing that somebody's not doing right now. Everybody's doing videos. Okay, so what's going to be that next thing that people aren't doing? So I'm always in that frame of mind of like what's different.
So of the 10 videos, as an example, if we were to grab 10 videos, how many of those would be, produced by a videographer, and how many of those would be produced by Jessica?
I would say half and half. But again, I'm posting every single day. So whatever it is, if it's under a contract, if it's a video of like me riding my horse and like just kind of, educating people of like what it's like to live here. I would say maybe half and half. Now that I've gotten a little bit busier.
We love actionable stuff here, and I want to kind of circle back to something you had just kind of mentioned real briefly, but I want to dig into it a little bit more because I think it's something that people might be able to utilize in their own business. And you mentioned boosting posts, and it's funny because a lot of social media experts that I hear talk about building their social media and getting leads always talk about organic, 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 which I think is important. But you're basically saying, hey, I'm not afraid to put some money behind my posts and I'm actually getting good results from it. Dig into that a little bit more so that people can maybe utilize this in their own business. When you're talking about boosting a post, and then you even said in a specific area, in my market, my target area, what does that look like? How often are you boosting posts, and how do you know how to niche that down within like the settings of the post? Is that something you have to do through Meta and Facebook on that side, or can you do it straight from the Instagram app?
So I boost my ads. Always use the internet, like your computer or like the browser, because if you use Instagram app, they charge you the fees. So always use your browser. I
So
try.
hold on. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm going to
sorry.
stop you there because I want to make
Yep.
sure people are digesting this. So when you say use your internet browser, are you saying log into Instagram on your computer?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you
Okay.
won't get charged the fees if you do that.
When
So I
what type of fees are you talking about? Because you still have to pay to boost it, right? So is there a separate fee?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's a separate fee. I don't know because I haven't done it in a while. I always go on my browser. There's like a separate fee, like you have to put in credits, and then like they charge like an extra fee. And I don't
Okay.
know exactly what that is because I just haven't used that. So if you want to avoid that fee, go on Google, like Safari or Google Chrome or whatever, and log in that way. It also allows you to kind of see like what ads you have and like, the insights and all that stuff a little bit better than the app.
And that's through Instagram online, not through Meta, right? Not through Facebook, not through Meta. Just go to Instagram.com, log into your profile there, and then you can access this.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so when you're in there and you say, hey, I'm going to boost this post, you're not creating a new ad. You're just boosting a reel that you've already posted, right?
Yes, and it has
Okay.
to be there's a couple things like it can't be certain music. They're a little bit strict on that. So usually like the ones I have professionally done with my videographer, I can boost those. So what I'll do is I'll boost them, and I try, and again, this comes down to where do you want to work? And as we know, you can't just go fishing and throw one, line in the pond and walk away. Like you have to keep going back to that pond every single day. And so that's for me is like I picked Mountain Center and I picked La Quinta, and those are the two areas that I just throw tons of money towards. And I think that's important. I think that's something that has to be done. Again, it just depends on where I'm trying to target. I have cities set up, so I'll set like a duration. I'll set like a city. I'll put in what I think. I have learned that I need to spend a little bit more money, and that's kind of what I've done. You can also check it every day to see how it's doing. Depending on when you check it, and again, I could be wrong about this stuff, but depending on when you check it on your ads, it'll tell you how much per click. And sometimes it's something that's doing really well is 13 cents. Something that maybe is not doing as well is maybe $1.30. It just depends. I wait till my ads get a lot of activity organically before I boost them. So I give them a week to settle with my audience, hashtags, whatever. Let them get up to 10,000 views before I start boosting it, because otherwise it'll cost me too much money if I do it right away.
And then is your goal just branding overall, or are you wanting to get them to a landing page or into your DM? Is there a certain call to action that you're encouraging them to take, or is it just, hey, I'm just boosting this just to get my name out there from a branding perspective?
I think the one that has worked best for me is the one. It's just the likes, the follows. I can't remember exactly unless I log in. There's one that's like likes or follows or whatever. And that one has worked the best for me to get follows, likes. People will find me. Like, there was a lady, she's an agent out of Colorado. House hasn't sold. I'm the third listing agent. Found me on, Instagram, looking to, I just love your marketing. She had an option to go with an agent that was right in her neighborhood or me. And she went back and forth, and she's like, I'm just so afraid because you're not super close to the property. And ultimately, just the marketing completely sold her that she knew that's what she needed.
So let's talk a little bit about, so 50% of the videos are being, produced by a videographer. The other 50% are being done by Jessica. How much time are you investing yourself on each video in terms of the shooting, the editing, all that other stuff? Because that's always fun.
I know, that's always fun. I probably sit in bed at night and come up with what I'm going to post the next day, and I'll schedule it. I find that works really well. I schedule it for 7 in the morning. So I'll sit in bed at 8:39, whatever, schedule out my post, have it hit in the morning. Sometimes though, if I'm randomly hey, I think this would do really well, I'll just post it whatever time. I really don't think it matters too much. Sometimes I'll post stuff Friday afternoon, and if it's going to do well, it's going to do well. And if it's not, it's not. It's so funny. The one that has done the best out of all my reels and all my videos is one out of my golf cart, passing my listing. My daughter was driving the golf cart. We were passing my listing. I just put, point of view, you found heaven 35 minutes away from Palm Desert. And that one had 200,000 views, crazy amount of saves. It was I was like, well, I'm going to boost it. So I boosted it for 13 cents, and I just kept doing it because it just kept going, and people would find me that way. A lot of it too is making sure you're adding SEO in. Super important. I know they say organic leads, but this boost thing has worked for me so well. And that's why I say always do what works for you, even though they're saying when you start to spend money, they don't get past your profile unless you keep spending the money. Opposite for me, I always feel like it just keeps organically. Even when I stop boosting my post for a couple of days, it's still doing well.
We're very big. Robert and I have always been very big, and I think most people are very big on profitability, right? So how are you tracking or managing or figuring out, okay, because you had mentioned, hey, I think I might even need to spend more money. Clearly you're making money, right? But how do you track this from a profit and loss, or is it more just winging it and say, hey, I'm busy, I'm making money, so I know it's working?
It's a little bit winging it. I added up what I spent in February, and it was $1,300, which you get one. I've gotten way more than one listing, but you get one lead from that closes. To me, that's worth it. Even if it got me one listing that doesn't close, how much can I get from that listing? So I always look at hey, I have right now I have 22 listings. So I could take that one listing and get 5 people from that one listing. So it's I always look at it that way. I'm not spending $10,000 a month or anything, sure. But then there's also Zillow. So I personally feel like this works better for me than getting a raw Zillow call for, something I'm not really even interested in taking.
Well, and I love what you're saying, because you're saying, okay, I spent $1,300 and I've gotten more than one listing from that $1,300. Whereas Zillow, you're spending $4,000 and maybe getting 2-3 leads that might or might not close, right? So you're saying, hey, from a profitability standpoint, this is actually even more profitable than trying to buy leads from Zillow or Realtor.com.
Yeah, and you have to want to do it. If it's not in your wheelhouse, like you got to find out what is. Because for me, I love the social media thing. I love like showing people my lifestyle and doing all that. But if you're not good at that, I just feel like you can't force something you're not good at. Pick what you're good at, and that's how you're going to market. Maybe it's open houses. Maybe it's going to all tons of events, and meeting people. There's other ways of doing stuff. It doesn't have to be Instagram.
I love it.
Let me jump in here. Sorry, I got a train
No,
that's
you're
passing
good.
by. I was trying to stay muted as long as I could. Now, Brian, let me ask. Actually, let me ask. Brian's asking here: is it best to boost $11 a day for a week, or is it better to do like something smaller, incremental, like $2 a day for 30 days? Is there like any sort of madness to that?
For me, the 11 to $15 a day for 9 days, 7 days has been the best for me. Again, if your post is not doing well organically, it's going to be very expensive to boost and most likely won't do very well. So you have to pick what is doing well already organically on your page. Otherwise, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg and it's not going to do very well. Um, but you can check on ad manager. There's like another little, I check on ad manager to see how much it's costing me to see how it's doing. You can like, sometimes I'll shut it off and then like I'll delete it and turn it back on. And I noticed that helps as well. So if it's not doing well, you can also do that.
Got it. So definitely boosting is helpful, but you also want to be a little strategic versus just throwing a bunch of money at every single last video. You want to make sure that there is a little window that whether that be 5, 7 days that it's doing well organically, and then at that point in time, you're saying, Jessica, now you're going to boost it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also, and one other thing too is like, some of my stuff up here is equestrian. It's not going to relate to everybody in the desert. So, like, if I have an equestrian one that I know somebody in Temecula is going to be interested in, that's where my boost is going to go, is Temecula, because that's probably where my buyer is coming from. So, I try and target it that way. I haven't had as much luck doing like big areas like LA, San Diego. Like I feel like you have to kind of niche down a little bit of like a city and pick a city and just keep doing it. Like you can't do it like 1 or 2 times and then be done. You have to keep doing it because that's what gets your name out. When they see all your ads, when they see up all my signs coming up 74, driving up 74, they're like, wow, she's really busy. I'm looking at her Instagram, like it's in escrow, closed, whatever. Like people want to work with people that seem busy or know what they're doing. The trust builds that way the more they see your name.
Yeah, knowing your avatar, knowing who it is that you're going after and targeting that audience and continuing to just hammer home versus just going wide and trying to like cast this super, super wide net and really not making much of an impact. So that's
Yeah.
a really good point there. Let me just ask you real quickly, Jessica, as far as like your day, what does a typical day look like for you? What time do you get up? What does your business day look like? All that other good stuff.
I probably need to get a little stricter on this one. I go to bed at 11 and I wake up around 6 or 7. I have kids that have to get into school, but what I'll do is I'll usually, juice, make coffee, sit down at my computer for a couple of hours, work out. I have to work out. And then come back to my computer for a couple of hours. And then we have like horse lessons and stuff like that in the afternoon. Now today, I have showings after this, so I'll be out, and then we have riding lessons in the afternoon. So it all over, just depends. I dedicate a couple days to go down to the desert. Our office is down there, and I have listings down there. So usually Monday and Thursdays, I'm in the desert.
You know, I wish we had more than a half hour to talk to you, but we want to be respectful to your time. There's just so many more things I would like to peel back the layers on. I think, one of the other things I would be curious about is, are you now building out your database, or have you already built out your database as far as like a CRM? Because obviously you're getting these inbound leads and not everyone's ready to go right away, right? They see your ad or their boosted post and they reach out and maybe they're 6 months out. What does it look like? Number one, your CRM and your database and how you're building that. And number two, when it comes to follow up and making sure that when these people are ready 6 months down the road, that you've been following up with them, would you say that's a strength of yours? And how are you, what does that system look like for follow up?
I am probably annoying, and that is a good thing. Follow up, follow up, follow up. I've had people tell me no, they're not ready, and I just keep spinning that wheel. A lot of text messages going back through my text message. Are you ready to list? Like I've had people ghost me, and I just keep going, and they finally like, okay, I'm ready to list. I 6 months, this lady ghosted me, didn't hear from her, just kept following up. 1.6 million listing, that I probably wouldn't have had if I, wasn't there. I have an assistant, which has helped so much because if you think about it, like I can be at the gym and my business is still running 9 to 5. We send out emails. So we have a target where we send out a newsletter that Compass produces, really cool happenings on there. And then it has all my listings. So that goes on the 1st. And on the 14th, what I'll do is I'll also have like a farm. So I farm different cities. We'll send out the comparables with all my listings as well, just to, touch base. In between those two emails, between the 1st and the 14th, we're following up with who opened it the most. So we can go back and see, hey, so-and-so's open it like 8 times. They've clicked on it. Like, let's follow up with a follow-up email. So we have like 4 emails going out. She helps create my postcards for me. She does a lot of the back end stuff that I wouldn't be able to do. And then I also have a transaction coordinator who does all my paperwork. So the business is flowing without me being, behind the desk all day, because really where I'm making money is out with my clients, showing houses, at my listings, all that stuff.
When you say farm and you're emailing a farm, what does that consist of? Is that just like emails you've collected through the years from a certain geographical area, or what? Dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so my title rep, I can get, stuff from him, but I'll say like usually what we try and do is farm the areas where I have listings. Like obviously like Mountain Center is a big thing for me, right? And people know me. So we'll take, we also have Deal Machine. It's an app that I can pull, emails, and everything is pretty accurate on there. So we'll pull emails. We have tags on compass.com and my CRM, Mountain Center. So we have like a newsletter all set up. It has Mountain Center header. This is what happened in Mountain Center. This is how many listings were active, closed, pending. Interested in, selling your house. We have HomeBot. I don't know if you've heard of HomeBot. So people have a platform. She has the HomeBot all set up with like an AI video of me like explaining to people like, hey, this is, how it works, et cetera, et cetera. So like all the systems are in place. Again, when I'm not behind my computer, is like it's all like kind of automated going out.
Incredible. You got all the systems in place. I love that. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing in their business, even agents that have been in the business a long time at a high level. If all you're doing is just calling and following up and you don't have any other types of systems, you can get to where you want to go, but the systems will get you there a lot faster. For sure. I love that.
This is what I did this year too, is just did a branding package. I got my website with, 4 different colors. The fonts were set out. I have a logo. Sometimes, and I'm realizing this, you have to spend a lot of money up front to get the business running, but just know everything that you're doing now, the call you make today, the email send today, that's going to pay off in 6 months. So you just have to keep going. And this is all stuff that now is paying off for me that I've been just doing consistently and just not giving up. When you get a no, keep asking. When you say they're not ready, keep asking. It's just staying consistent. The follow-up is what is going to change people's mind. And just know, like, just be like, don't be like money hungry or like business hungry. Just be like there to truly like help them. Like they have to move, they have a problem and you're there to solve it.
I love it. Consistent and persistent is the name of the game. You can't lose out on the lead follow-up because that's going to be 80, 90% of your business, bare minimum. Well, we do want to, of course, be respectful of your time. And thank you to everybody who did, of course, join us. So, Jessica, it was an absolute honor. Any referrals that need to be sent your way over to Idlewild in that direction, where should they contact you? How do they get a hold of you?
And they can message me on my Instagram. So it's my name, Jessica _McAnallen is my last name. I'm sure you could pass that along. And then they could reach out to me on my phone number, which is 760-574-3915.
There we go. Awesome. As usual, James, truly a pleasure. Jessica,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for your time. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good
See you
one.
guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.